Good afternoon, everyone. Hope all is well. So, we are now going to be going live with a photographer, a professional photographer who is based in Liverpool, and he is going to be discussing with us as to why he likes photography and anyone who wants to get into the photography industry, what should they be doing? So let's get in touch with, let's send this over to Antonio. Here we go. Super. Send. Great. So if anyone has any questions about photography, what it takes to be a photographer, do put them in the comment section. Yep, everyone who's tuned in, we're just waiting for our guest to turn up. I couldn't advertise this because there was a lot of late super shine. I'm going live with someone, but if you want to do a live, send me a message. I will book you in, but not today. Um, Sorry, guys, I don't know what's happening, but he should be here. Yeah, so as I was mentioning, I did not get the chance to put this on my live story, but we just had the confirmation. So here we go. Just take this. Antonio,
Hello, Murtaza.
hello, how are you?
Hello, nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you so much for coming on. I know we've had a lot of back and forth of doing this live session. So I appreciate it. You taking your time out and coming here, spreading the knowledge in your professional field of what you do and sharing that knowledge with anyone who's interested in photography. I know myself,
hmm
I'm interested in photography, but I don't use any cameras as such because iPhone has develop such an intense camera right now with their new phone that
hmm
I don't need a professional camera. But thank you so much for coming on to share that knowledge with us today.
You're very welcome, Murtaza.
Thank you.
Um,
Before we start, if you can introduce yourself as to who you are and what you do so that we can get the conversation going.
Perfect. Well, my name is Antonio Franco, and I'm a professional photographer. I'm originally from Venezuela, South America, and I came to the UK almost 6 years ago.
Wow.
I came with my wife. We came here to basically looking for greener pastures and trying to get a new life away from our home country. And I've been a professional photographer for nearly 14 years now.
Wow. Wow. The-
And basically, it's something that it was kind of an eye opener was when I arrived here. Uh, After being already established in my home country, having like established a career as a photographer, I had to come here and learn everything from scratch because it was a new country, a new market, a new way of doing business, and I was a complete unknown. I
Stranger.
didn't have exactly, I was an stranger, and my portfolio uh, was something, was palm trees and beaches and something that it doesn't resonate locally in the
The
Northwest,
the
but
the nice side of the world.
exactly. So yeah, and it was a steep learning curve for me. But then after almost 6 years living in the UK, things have improved massively, and
Super.
I have done a lot of different work here already.
Antonio, before we get going and get too much into the conversation, what I wanted to ask you is, and I ask this to all my guests that come on here, Did you always aspire to be a photographer in your life, or did you have any other dreams or other aspirations in your life? You know, like when we're growing up, we're kids, right? So we
Mhm.
see police officers, we see doctors, we see lawyers, we see architects, we see our own parents doing different things. I mean, we aspire to be something like them or something like a bigger career in life. Did you always aspire to be someone like that, or no? Photography was your main goal from a very young age.
Well, funny enough, I come from a very technical background. I studied and I got a degree in maintenance engineering.
Okay.
And I worked in Venezuela for almost 7 years in the oil industry back there.
Okay.
So I worked as a MWD technician in an
Okay.
oil company,
Okay.
and it was all very, very technical, not non-art related. But I always had an incline for photography and for artistic endeavors.
Was that your
But
passion?
that was my passion. But it wasn't it wasn't the career that I chose to study in
Sorry,
university.
I just missed that out. What I was going to ask you is so you mentioned that photography, you had that vision in your mind. Was that your passion?
That was my passion, exactly. I remember whenever, actually, the first time I came to the UK was in 2002. At that time, I was working for an oil company called Schlumberger, and
Okay.
they have a training center here near Nottingham. And they
I
sent me
was in
for,
Notting I was in Nottingham on Friday.
oh, really? Coincidence.
Yeah.
And they sent me here for training, and I was almost 2 months here in the UK, traveling around, and I had my camera with me and taking photos all around, and I was always longing for the weekend to come so I could go around and take pictures. And I always liked it. And then at some point, I decided to do a career swap. I decided that the oil industry was not for me anymore, so I decided to swap and
This
become a
is what I
photographer.
wanted to ask you, and this is what I where why I want to know why you had that career swap. But before we get there, what did your job involve being in the oil industry? What were you doing at that point?
Okay, at that point, I was in charge of a maintenance department where we used to do maintenance on oil tools for directional drilling, which is, whenever you drill an oil well, sometimes or most of the time they need to steer the well,
Of
to make
course,
it reach a target.
of
And
course.
we did maintenance on the tools used to do that, which were very, very complex tools.
Okay,
And we were in charge of that. And I did that for almost 3 years. And then they changed me to a different department when I did take care of the surface equipment, like computers and sensors used in the oil rig in order to control those tools.
of
That
course.
was the main two things that I did in that company.
So in those 7 years of working for that company, you were dealing with first the tools that bring the oil out, and then you were dealing with the tools that sort of get to know where the oil is, sort of.
Something like that. But these tools were the tools basically help the drillers to reach their target.
Got you.
And then while they are doing it, they need some computers and some surface equipment to actually decode the information that is being sent from down from under from the hole, basically
Yep, yep,
from
yep.
underground, from the underground. So I
Yep.
I actually took care also of those equipment on the surface.
Wow.
So yeah, basically that was what I did.
And then how is I'm sort of drifting away from the photography for a quick moment, but we've heard a lot about Venezuela on the news, about the economy, about the political situation out there. What is it that's happening in Venezuela right now? And is it going towards the better, or is it going towards the worst? I mean, if you don't want to comment, it's up to you. But
Yeah,
I
no,
thought I'll
it's
ask you the
okay.
question.
I'm glad you're asking this. What is happening in Venezuela is a massive it's a massive mess, to be honest, because obviously the Venezuela has the largest oil reserves in the world, and obviously the world powers want they are struggling basically. You have countries like China, like the US, like Russia, like Iran, and they are basically wanting to get control on those resources basically. And unfortunately, right now in Venezuela, there has been the the largest migration in South America in the last few years have been from Venezuela. Millions of Venezuelans fled because the government has also violated human rights. They have smashed protests against them, and
I
they
mean,
basically
I saw the currency lying on the floor on the streets in Venezuela. You know, it was. I mean,
yeah
I've never seen
yeah
something like that. Like people throwing away the money as if it's
yeah
worthless. It's like a piece of
the,
paper.
yeah there's a massive inflation problem, and the currency basically, as you said, is worth nothing, and the government has been inept 4 years. They basically have spoiled the country. There's a lot of corruption in the country. The government from top to bottom is all corrupted, and they use at the moment they are even use food to get political gain. Like if someone is against the government, they don't get the food the government offer.
You're joking.
Yes, they on,
Wow.
they only favor their followers. But and it's
Wow.
supposedly a democratic country. In democracy, you have the right to be up or to be against.
Of course, you have the right to
But
be free.
exactly. But the problem is that in Venezuela, 4 years, it has been that all these things have been used for political gain, like food, like access to health, like access to different things that the government could offer. It's all
And
done for the,
is that one of the reasons you also migrated to the
yeah,
UK
yeah, absolutely.
to seek a better life?
Yes,
So
absolutely.
how is it right now? How is the situation right now? Is it really bad and is it going down and down, or is there like, you know, like we say it in England, light at the end of the tunnel? Can you see a
Well,
light?
r- not in the short term, unfortunately, because right now I see that there is a huge gap between the people that between the poor and
And
the
the rich.
people and the wealthy. Right now, there's no middle class. I grew up in a middle class family, you know, and made, in the 70s and 80s, Venezuela had a very large middle class, but it was shrinking through the years. And right now, it's the gap is huge, and you have a huge majority of poor people, and then a tiny percentage of rich people, which mostly are related uh,
The
to
political
political
parties.
parties, military, and also the oil industry, which still, even if it's not in a good shape, but they still hold resources, they still hold money, and there's so much corruption that there are still huge amounts of money that are managed by them for their own advantage, and they just give, they just give small things to people to keep them longing for,
I've never felt so emotional in my life sessions. Today I'm feeling that, and I feel your pain. You know, you coming from another country, and your country is in total mess right now because someone does not know how to lead the country and the fellow people who are living there. You know, it's disgusting. Absolutely, it's you know, no words to how to explain such situations out there. But let's forget it. We're here to discuss positivity. So let's come back to your photography and what you do in there. How did you choose? how did you know? I mean, you mentioned that you had that passion, you had the eye for photography. When did you realize that oil is, I'm done with it, and this is what I'm going to go with now?
Okay, well, there was a point while I was working in Venezuela. There is an area in the west. It's called Maracaibo, and it's a state. Basically, it's one of the states where the oil industry is very strong. And they have a lake. There's a lake there, which is the largest lake in South America. Actually, when you are there, at some point, when you are in the middle, you don't see the shores, so you think that you are in the sea. It's
Wow.
huge. It's a huge lake, and there are oil rigs everywhere. And at that time, it was 2000. It was about 2006. At that time, the oil industry was already in decline in terms of maintenance, and there were a lot of accidents. There were oil leaks, gas leaks. So it wasn't. It was a very unsafe place to work. And at some point, I remember just going. We used to go in speedboats to different areas of the lake, and you could see the bubbles from under under the water of the gas leaks of the gas pipes in the under the water. And I was thinking, well, this is not it's not a safe place. And also, I was away from family. I had to work there for months, and I had like a very poor balanced life, life, work, personal life, work-life balance. It was very poor. So at that point, I say, you know what I'm doing here? You know what? That's the point where you realize and you ask yourself, what I'm doing here. And then I decided, you know what? I'm going to do something that I enjoy, that I have, allows me to have more time for me and for my family, and that's what I decided to jump, basically.
So
Not from the
2000.
boat, not from the boat, but
Oh man, it's really inspiring of what you're talking, it's I'm like, you have turned negativity, or this is true example of turning negativity into a positive motion in life, and taking your passion and making it a job, a hobby, a business. You know, what more can I say? It's absolutely, you are an inspiration, Antonio.
oh,
Really. I
thank you,
mean,
Mortata.
I've had enough people come on here and speak, but no one has been in the situation that you've gone through and turned that situation into a positive motion. Truly inspiring. So, when did you decide to come to England?
Well, since I came in 2002, and I liked it, it was always in the back of my mind to come back. And I got married just 1 month before coming, and with
Was your wife
now,
was your was
my,
your
yeah,
wife okay with it?
yeah, she was okay actually, and she didn't speak English at all.
Wow.
So she thought it would be like a good opportunity to actually learn.
Oh,
She had tried to learn English in Venezuela a couple times with no success. She wasn't like really motivated to do it. But then she said, well, if we go to the UK, would be
wow.
a good, a good starting point. And then we came to first we came for 7 months to
Okay.
test
Okay.
the waters basically.
And did you go directly to Liverpool, or were you in London or any other city?
Uh, no, I did some research online, and we found that Liverpool is one of the cities in the UK that offers the best balance in terms of cost of living, which is not as high as other cities like London, for example, or even Manchester or Leeds or Birmingham, and also it's it's not so big, but it's not so small either. It's like it has a good balance, and also has a lot of culture, um, tourism.
A
So
lot, a lot of students.
yeah, it has the students as well. So yeah, so we found that it's well balanced in terms of
Yeah,
somewhere to start a new life basically.
absolutely. And then now your professional career in photography. What does it take to have that eye for detail as a professional photographer?
Well, right. After a few years now working as a photographer, definitely that's something that is needed. You have to have an eye for detail, composition, light, color, how to arrange the elements in a photo. But that is just a part of the equation. um, it takes really much more to be a professional photographer
Of
because
course.
you end up having to wear many hats.
I mean,
You know.
I'm not a professional photographer. I'm
Hmm.
a professional property broker, right? But
Hmm.
when I'm taking shots, even from my iPhone, I have to take like 10, 15 shots to get the right one. So I can
Hmm.
imagine how it must be being in your shoes. Like you must have to take 100 shots to get the right one because you're into commercial photography. You're into taking photography for properties. You mentioned for food, for
Hmm.
festivals. I mean, and then not just having the eye for detail, but then going through all those photos to pick the right one.
Yeah, that's correct. Sometimes it's sometimes it's difficult because you as a photographer we need to get attached, to feel attached to some photos. And sometimes you want to put, you don't know which one to choose because you like them all.
Exactly.
But you have to be very, very uh, demanding with yourself, and try to choose the really, really, really best ones,
Of course.
because that's what you want to show, and that's what you want the client to end up with. You want
Abs-
to end up with the best. And it's I like to do the analogy with movies. Do you like movies?
of course.
Yeah, so when they make movies, sometimes not all the time, not all the scenes go to the final edit. And
Yep.
sometimes you have you download a movie, or you get a DVD, and you can see the deleted scenes, because in the end, the director, when they saw the all the scenes, they thought, well, these ones don't add much to the story, or they weren't, they weren't good enough, or for one or the other
Whoa,
reason.
exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
they chose not to put them. And
Yep.
it's the same with photography. Sometimes some photos don't tell the whole story, or some photos don't add much to the whole project. So you have to take them out. Even they may be good, but they are
You
just
gotta you
takeoffs. They have to go out, so you end up with the very, very best, basically.
absolutely. Um, in terms of, let's say you as a photographer, between the countries that you may have traveled to take photos, where did you get the best shots around the world?
Around the world. I really liked when I went to Ecuador. I went to Ecuador in 2014,
Okay.
and it's a beautiful country. It's all green. It's very green.
Yep. Yep.
And also the people are very authentic. Most of the people, they still wear their traditional outfits.
Yep. Yep.
Even in the capital city, you see that everyday people, they dress very traditionally, and I really like that. I also liked when I went to the US. I went a couple times, and I did a work on MMA fighters,
Wow. Wow.
uh, and it was a project for a workshop that I did.
Okay.
It was a personal project, and I really liked those ones. Milan in Italy as well. I really liked it.
So you've been
Uh,
to quite a few countries where you've got.
I mean, I've seen your profile and you've got some amazing photos out there.
Thank you.
Sometimes I will make sure that I go out and share some of your photos. I don't normally do it. I don't share other people's posts on my live story because I like to generate my own content. But I will make sure that sometimes I will share your
Brilliant. I
photos.
appreciate that.
Um, I want to ask you this question. Me and my wife always have a fight about whose camera is the best. So I have an iPhone 11
Mhm.
and she has a Samsung Note 10. Which one has the best camera?
Well, I don't have an iPhone, but I have heard that the iPhone is better.
Yes.
But
Yes.
but I cannot say it. I mean, I haven't tried an iPhone because I'm a Samsung user as well.
Okay.
But I've heard, I mean, from everyone that the iPhone camera is better.
Super. I'm going to show
Okay.
this clip to her. By a professional photographer. It's said live. iPhone 11 has the best camera. Super.
Well, that's
Um,
what I heard.
well, I can twist it slightly.
You can edit it.
But thank you so much for coming on here, sharing some amazing knowledge about your country, about what your career was, what your passion was, and how you've changed your life from a negative sentiment, changing your country. I know it's hard. It's hard leaving your country, leaving your people, leaving your family, your language, everything, and coming here and finding a new living and just going out there and getting it. It's super inspirational to have you on here and have our live session and discuss your life and your knowledge. Before you go, Antonio, I do this with all my guests that come on, and no one better to do this. What positive advice would you like to share with the world today? You know, we've got a lot of negative sentiment around us as well. We've just come out of lockdown. Coronavirus is still in the air somewhere, you know, and a lot of political situations like you've been through as well. What positive advice would you like to share with the people today?
Okay. Well, as a photographer, I can speak about a word that I would like people to concentrate and to think about, and that word is focus. You know, focus is a very important thing, not only in photography, but in life in general.
Yep,
So you can see a situation and you can choose to focus on the bad side, or you can choose to focus on the good side of it. And
absolutely.
every situation has, it's like a coin. They have
Yep, two
two sides,
sides.
you know,
Absolutely.
and it's up to you. If you choose to focus on the bad side of a situation, that's it's what you will get in the end. You will get bad results. But
Absolutely.
if you choose to take the good of it, because even if the baddest of things, they have something good behind, and you just need to focus on the good side of things and on the good side of the coin in order to just, we live for a short time here in this world.
Absolutely, absolutely,
so
absolutely.
so it's
Just
better
focus
to
focus on the good side of things.
focus on the
Super
good
amazing.
side.
Thank you so much for joining me, Antonio. It's been a pleasure to have you on, speak to you about politics, oil,
Little bit of everything, yeah.
photography. I mean, so much, I've literally had my brains open up today. But thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Murtaza. Thanks for the invitation.
Take care. Thank you. Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Bye bye.
So that was Antonio, all the way from Liverpool. We discussed about his life and career as a oil drilling technician, as a photographer, where he chose to move from his day job and take on his passion and move forward with that uh, photography, professional photography passion. Thank you to all the viewers that tuned in. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on. Do tune in tomorrow, where I've got two other live sessions with different people from different backgrounds. Thank you so much, everyone. Take care. Antonio, I'll see you soon. Bye bye.